Hi lovelies, it's France. Welcome back again for week 93 of the Journal on Monday series. I'm starting with masking tape that I'm tearing so that I have an irregular shape on the paper. This is the precision sensitive masking tape because I need something that I will be able to take off again quite easily. I'm filling the squares, the rectangles, with gesso. And I'm applying it using a paintbrush, but I'm applying it in a generous layer. Now, this technique is nothing new. You might have seen it a dozen times before, but, well, I felt like playing with it. The second layer is gel medium, and again, I'm applying it very generously, so I'm doing so with a plastic card, which is easier than a paintbrush. And I'm being careful not to move the gesso around that's underneath. And I'm cleaning the card so that I don't put any gesso in my gel medium jar. Then again, I'm drying it just enough so that I can go in with the next layer, which is again gesso. And again, I'm applying it with the paintbrush in a generous layer on top of the gel medium. Now, before I can continue, I have to take off all the masking tape, because if I dry everything now, I won't be able to take it off. And as you can see, the gel medium is already starting to dry. Now that's okay, because everything that's coming off the paper will give us a very interesting texture when it's drying. And now the film can begin. So I'm going in with the heat gun, and I will show you a bit closer so that you can see what happens when you heat this composition of layers. You get very interesting bubbles. This takes quite some time. You really have to keep on heating it up to have bubbles all over. And now I'm repeating the whole process. Masking tape, first layer of gesso. So I'm making different squares on different in different places on the paper. Drying it just enough so that I can go back in with the gel medium, and again a generous layer with gel medium using a card. Then drying it just enough so that I can apply another layer of gesso on top of it. And now, before I start to dry everything, I have to take off the masking tape. And then again, heating everything until I have bubbles all over. To accentuate all the texture, I'm mixing up acrylic paint with glazing fluid, and I'm applying it all over using a paintbrush again. Now I'm only slightly drying it because I want to be able to blend it using a baby wipe and take a lot of the paint away again, so that I only have paint in the creases. And even on the paper you can wipe part of the paint away so that the paper comes back to the top again. Once I'm happy with the look, I'm drying it completely, and I'm adding a second layer with the same paint to really accentuate the creases. And then again, using a baby wipe, I'm cleaning up all the erased parts. To my first mixture, I'm adding quinacridone nickel azo gold, and I'm mainly adding it to the textured parts of the spread, just in the same way as I did with the gray, but I'm not applying it everywhere. Trying it just slightly, and then using a baby wipe again, I'm blending it. And then just using my finger and a baby wipe, I'm adding light touches of the same color on the paper to give it a really earthy feel. I'm adding some water, mixing it up so that I can add splatters with that same color. And as I do have a lot of paint, I don't want to waste it, I have pieces and bits of paper on my table that I can use to put the paint on, and I will use it later on a different project or on the same project. Adding a tiny bit of distress ink on the edges, and then using some water, I'm blending it and blotting it partly away. Making sure everything is dry before I go on. This is magical powder that I added to a spray bottle with water. And again, I'm only applying it on the textured parts of the spread. And then using a dry piece of kitchen towel, I'm blotting it away. This is Color Flow, which is a very liquid acrylic paint, so I can go directly with my paintbrush in the jar to add splatters to my page, and then again I'm blotting it away so that it's softer and less right there in your face. A bit of archival ink and a blending tool to just accentuate the edges of the textured rectangles. And I'm using a charcoal pencil and a blending stump. I'm giving them a shade all around. Now there has been a lot going on, and I want the white of my textured rectangles to come back to the top. So at this time I'm using blending solution to clean them, because I have been over it with archival ink, and that won't go away just using water, so I'm using blending solution. You could do the same with nail polish remover. Just be careful not to melt whatever is underneath. And now I can go in with my sewing machine. Adding some stamping using VersaFine ink, and I really want it to be a very soft something, so I'm not only blotting part of the ink away on my stamp, I will also be blending it on the paper, as you can see. Using a blending solution again. First I'm taking all the stamp away from the textured squares, but I also gently wiped it on the paper itself, very softly. So this is the paper that I used for the excess paint, and now I can use it to add an embellishment on my spread. If you want the reference of this sponge as well as all the other information about the products that I've been using, you'll find a complete list of ingredients on my blog as usual. And then stamping with archival ink on that piece of paper that I prepared to add to the edge of my spread. And now I'm doing the exact same thing to add another piece on the opposite side of my spread. I like things to be in balance, but that's just a personal choice. Again, I'm going in with that very liquid acrylic paint to add some black accents on the spread. Well, it's not really black, it's a gray shade, as they call it. So as you can see, I don't need to add any water to this. I can go directly from the jar to the paper. If you don't have this kind of paint, you can do the exact same thing with just classic acrylic paint. Just add a bit of water to it. And then using some bottle lids, I'm adding some stamping on the paper, using that same fluid acrylic. This is a piece of Lego, I think, that I'm stamping with. Don't tell my kids. And then blotting it slightly with a baby wipe. This is gesso again, and this time I'm using that brush that I never clean, so it's completely hardened by dried gesso. So the only thing that I can do with it is add, well, blots of gesso on the paper, and then with my finger I'm softly blending them on the page. This is a piece of chipboard. Don't ask me the brand. I've been hoarding this for so long that I don't remember where it came from. I just painted using acrylic paint. This is a black acrylic paint, and as the paint is almost completely dried, I'm placing embossing ink on top of it so that I don't need to use any embossing ink. And then melting it, and as I still have my paintbrush with the gesso on it, I add it to the heart as well. Again, adding some black soot distress ink on the edges. This is one of Lindy's Stem Gang flat shots, so I mixed that one with 2/3 of clear gesso and 1/3 of glazing fluid. And again, I'm using it to add accents on the textured part of the spread. This time again, I'm using a dry piece of kitchen towel to take the excess away, so that I don't take too much away. If I would go in with a wet baby wipe, I would take almost everything away. And then I also add some directly on the paper, so that the background and the accents on the spread work together. Sanding the heart just a tiny bit, adding the same blue on it, a touch of distress ink, and I'm placing a mark to know where I have to add my sewing, as I want my heart to hang from a thread on the spread. Adding some glimmer glaze to make it pop just a bit more, and then going back in with the same flat shots around the heart so that it has the same shading as the other accentuated parts of the spread. Adding some journaling using my uniballs. This is the black one. And then I'm going over it with the white one, because that's how I like my journaling. Date stamp. And now I can cut my spread in half. The wording is done with an old label maker, which is a Dymo. And that's about it for today. If you liked today's video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you haven't already, subscribed to my channel. It's very much appreciated. Have a happy week, everyone, and see you back next time. Ta-da!